Welcome to another edition of Double the Innocence with your boy E-Dub, gem dropper and a definite showstopper. Yes, sirree. Happy hump day. Happy Wednesday. For all you people that happen to be out here in Montreal, yeah, man, winter's really here. So I suggest you dress a little bit warm because it's a little bit chilly. Wait a couple minutes to see if anybody's going to join us live, and then we're going to get right into it. Got to talk about it, man. I got to talk about my relationship with the Raiders, man. Have to talk about my relationship with these Vegas Raiders. And you guys got to understand, when I talk about the Raiders, I'm coming from a really deep, passionate place. Because I've been a fan of the Raiders since as far back as I can remember. Yeah. Main reason why I felt the need to come up here and talk about the Raiders is because I heard through the grapevines that there's a very good possibility that at the end of the season, the Las Vegas Raiders are planning to move on from Pete Carroll. Now, I don't know if you guys heard what I said, so I'm going to repeat it again. Through the grapevines, I heard that there's a possibility the Vegas Raiders are going to be moving on from Pete Carroll. How does that make sense? To anybody out there listening, how does that make sense at all? How many head coaches are the Raiders going to be paying that aren't working for the Raiders right now? John Gruden, when we let him go, he still had years left on his contract. We let him go. The New England Patriots offensive coordinator, Josh McDaniel, he had years on his contract. We let him go. Antonio Pierce, if I'm not mistaken, he had a couple of years on his contract, and we let him go. But as far as I understand things, if these coaches still have years left on their contract, even if you let them go, you still got to pay them the years that are left on their contract. So how many head coaches are the Vegas Raiders invested in right now? How many head coaches are the Vegas Raiders actually paying right now to date? They're paying Pete Carroll this year. I'm not sure if they finished paying John Gruden yet. I'm not sure if they finished paying Josh McDaniel yet. Because when those coaches signed, they didn't just sign for a one-year deal. And now I hear there's a possibility we might, at the end of the season, be moving on from Pete Carroll. Come on, man. I mean, how many more of these episodes do we have to go through before we realize that this is ridiculous, man? This is a soap opera that they're running out there in Vegas. We have an organization like the Vegas Raiders that seem to switch coaches like people change underwear. And then on a different note, you have an organization like the Pittsburgh Steelers that, since I've been alive, I think they've only had 2 or 3 coaches. How is a team supposed to ever get better if every single year all we keep doing is changing the outlook of the team? Changing the outlook of the leader who's supposed to be leading the organization? How are the Raiders supposed to get better? And I'm a passionate Raider fan, as you can see. I love my Raiders. Now, do I think Pete Carroll is a man for the job? From what I've seen so far, absolutely not. And to be totally honest, I think maybe it would be a pretty decent decision if we do decide to move on from Pete Carroll. But at what point in time are we going to stop always changing head coaches? At what point in time are we actually going to get that part of it right? When? We're on the verge of losing Max Crosby. I don't care what anybody says. We're on the verge of losing Max Crosby. And to me, that's a world-class player. But I'll be totally honest with you, I wouldn't blame him if he asked for a trade. Why? Because since he's been there, how many head coaches has he had to answer to? So at no point in time have you ever had a direction and just stuck in that particular direction? At no time. Because no two head coaches have the same coaching style. I got you. I'm watching the road. At no point in time. My friends, I understand something, man. I mean, allegedly, apparently, the Raiders won a Super Bowl way back in the day. That was before I really had enough common sense to know what was going on. But then we had an opportunity with Rich Gannon, Woodson. You know that bunch? Where we got robbed, as far as I'm concerned, to go to the Super Bowl. You know, with that game that we played against the New England Patriots, where all of a sudden they came up with this tuck rule that nobody had heard of beforehand. But the tuck rule came up, and we all know what the outcome of that happened. The Patriots went on to the Super Bowl, and they ended up winning that Super Bowl. That Super Bowl, I don't care what anybody tells me. It's only the man upstairs that can come back and tell me that the Raiders weren't going to win the Super Bowl that year. Because if anybody remembers exactly how the Raiders looked that particular season, they were one of, if not the best teams in football on both sides of the ball. So I had to deal with that heartbreak. Never quite got over that, but hey, we end up going to, and the reason why that bothered me that much, because if anybody remembers, the year right after that, the Raiders end up going to the Super Bowl. They played the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You know, when John Gruden left the Raiders and he ended up coaching the Buccaneers and we ended up getting Warren Sapp. Yeah, that year we went to the Super Bowl and we lost. But if they had let everything play out the way it was supposed to have played out, the Raiders would have been in the Super Bowl back to back. And they would have won the first one, in my humble opinion. Okay, moving forward. Then they revamped the team after we went through our bumps and bruises, where we had Carr. And then we had Khalil Mack on the defensive side of the ball. So we were making noise on both sides of the ball. Yeah. And we were a young team. So now I'm starting to feel myself because I'm seeing the progression with this young squad. Khalil Mack was a beast back when he was playing for us. Then we went and got John Gruden back, and the first thing John Gruden did was trade Khalil Mack to Chicago Bears. You saw what was happening with the Raiders. You saw the potential on the both sides of the ball because we had a young Carr and we had a young Khalil Mack. You trade Khalil Mack? How do you trade a player of that? So I don't know if you guys understand my growing pains that I deal with this team. But I ask myself this question, man. When you spent the majority of your life repping this logo right here, how do you just kick them to the curb and find another team to represent? It can't be done. And it's not like I haven't thought about it a lot of different times. It's just that if you're a true passionate Raider fan, that's something that just cannot be done. It's not that easy. Like when I actually see people bandwagon jumping and all that kind of stuff, hopping from one team to another, I can't understand that. Because I've been part of the Raider Nation for so long where it's in your blood. So I only know one way. If that's my team, that's my team. Good, bad, or indifferent, that's my squad. But I tell you, man, they make it very, very difficult, man. Because there have been a few times that I kind of wish that I didn't wear the Raiders' pride on my sleeve. Honestly speaking, because it's like, especially times like now when we're 2-10. and we're right back to where you normally are, where we're back to being the laughing stock of the league, it starts to get a little bit exhausting. It really does. So Pete Carroll possibly might be the next head coach that they might let go. And I don't believe they signed Pete Carroll to just a one-year contract. So once again, we're right back where we started from. I'm just starting to think that coaches are starting to say, hey, you know what? You might be very right, but I don't want people to say that I'm crying over sour milk. But again, now I can't. Once upon a time, I could have easily blamed the league for going against my Raiders. But when the Raiders have an opportunity to draft a quarterback in both the first and the second round, fine. I was okay with the first round pick when you picked up the running back because, to me, he's a star. He's an up and coming star. But you had an opportunity in the second round to choose a quarterback and you did nothing of the sort. And where are we having the major league problems right now? At the quarterback position. We can no longer blame the league for that. As a true Raider fan, we can no longer blame the league for that. Now, unfortunately, owners, management, they got to start looking in the mirror. Because this is their decisions that us as Raider fans are paying for. Plain and simple. You didn't choose Shedeur Sanders in the first round, but you had the opportunity to take him in the second round, and you did not. And now we're stuck with the nonsense that Geno Smith is doing. And at no point in time, Pete Carroll wants to take him out of the game to try and change the momentum. I'm starting to think that head coaches, they just think that, oh man, let's just go get a job with the Raiders because you know what? We don't really have to do too much. They're probably going to fire us after 1 year and we're going to get paid for 3 years after that. That's what it's starting to look like now. Josh McDaniels came and for whatever reason, he has the New England Patriots looking absolutely amazing on the offensive side of the ball. But when we had him as a head coach, he couldn't even get the quarterback to throw the ball 10 yards down the field. I don't understand that. Okay. I hear people say that, there are some coaches that make just good offensive coordinators and that's it. They'll never be good as a head coach. But what I'm trying to say is, fine, maybe he might not have been good as a head coach, but you couldn't make our offense look good? If I'm not mistaken, you were in charge of the play calling at that particular point in time, no? You couldn't make our offense look like we knew what we were doing? Tiring, man. Tiring. But we all know what's going to happen, right? Anybody who's a true member of the Raider Nation, we all know what's happening, right? We're going to be frustrated as hell throughout the rest of this season. We're going to be pissed off on the off season. And as soon as the start of next season comes around, we're going to be right back there where our hearts on our sleeves, cheering on the Raiders, letting everybody know exactly how good the Raiders are going to be this season, this up and coming season. This is what we do, man. And then every year we got to do the exact same thing, take our foot out of our mouth. You know what I'm saying? But it's an acquired taste now. We're kind of used to our feet in our mouth now because, hey, like I said, if you've been a Raider fan for as long as I've been a Raider fan, believe me, I've had to pull my foot out of my mouth a lot of times. And the way things look, I'm going to have to pull it out a hell of a lot more times also. Hey, it is what it is, man. The price you got to pay for being passionate. I'm just hoping that, at some point in time, we're going to look like we know what we're doing. We're going to look like an organization. I mean, hey, on paper and everything, towards the beginning of this season that we're in right now, on paper, it looked like we looked amazing. On paper, we looked like we got a quality veteran head coach, and we finally got a quarterback that put some work in the league. And then they put it all together, and the team looks worse than it did last season. How does that work? And believe it or not, I understand Pete Carroll, he was retired for a little bit of time. So, it might take him a little bit of time to, like, get his footing back underneath him. I understand that. 2-10? Nah. 2-10 is ridiculous, man. And it's not even the fact of the matter that we're 2-10, it's the way we're losing those games. That's the part that really hurts. Fire Pete Carroll. He hired Chip Kelly. Drafted Geno Smith. I can't say I disagree with you, partner. Can't say I disagree with you, man. Because right now, this is a real crap show out there in Raider Nation. It's a real crap show. And like I said, I'm just very, very tired of being the laughing stock of the league. That part gets a little bit tiring. Russell Wilson in next? Well, and if that happens, then then I know for a fact that Pete Carroll is doing what every other coach seems to be doing, just taking the Vegas Raiders as a joke. Because if you take a look at the Vegas Raiders right now, you might as well call them the Vegas Seahawks. Yes? I mean, really. Yeah, we definitely do need a quarterback, man. We definitely do need a quarterback. But you know what? I don't even want to hear that, because like I said, I can't get over the fact of the matter that they had two different opportunities to get quarterbacks, and they didn't. They had two different kicks at that bucket. You're absolutely correct. Shador would have been 10 times better. And for you guys to have had the opportunity to have drafted Shador in the second round and not do it, what does that say about your organization? For you guys to have needed a quarterback for as far as I can remember, and then take part in blackballing a quarterback? How is that understandable? You say Tom Brady needs more of a say. I try my best not to say too much about Tom Brady, for the simple fact of the matter that he's the reason why my team doesn't have a Super Bowl. You understand? It's something that I still, up to this day, cannot get over. Yeah, but the Seahawks have won a Super Bowl. Now, getting back to Tom Brady, I mean, I have no choice but to accept him in upper management. I have no choice. But I'm not one of those individuals that will give him any credit if the team does well. Nor am I going to take any credit away from him if the team does bad. Plain and simple. If I believe Tom Brady, from what they say, he does have a very big voice in the organization. So for him not to have exercised that, knowing you're coming to a team that's had quarterback problems since Derek Carr left, and not enforce drafting a quarterback, makes me wonder if you're part of the regime that's just trying to ruin the Raider organization. Because if you ask me, I personally think anybody who is affiliated with the New England Patriots have signed a clause to say at any point in time, if you get an opportunity to get into the Raider organization and ruin the infrastructure, you do it. I'm almost convinced of it. Because if you look at anybody that we've ever gotten from the Raiders, what do they always come and do for us? They come and stink up the joint. All down to the wide receiver that we just traded to Jacksonville. Jacoby Myers, I believe his name is, or whatever the case may be. He was from New England. And then what do you start doing when the going gets rough? Started crying because you want to be off of the Vegas Raiders team. Anybody we've ever gotten from New England has never really come to do any kind of help. They've done more harm than good for my Raiders organization, honestly speaking. Josh McDaniels, you name it. I'm telling you, man. So that's why anytime I hear we get somebody and they were affiliated with New England Patriots, right away I start seeing negative vibes. I start feeling negative vibes because I think that they're coming in to single-handedly ruin our organization. That's it, plain and simple. Tom is in it for Vegas. You might very well be right. You might very well be right. And you guys need to understand one thing. Just because Tom Brady was an amazing quarterback when he was playing doesn't necessarily mean he's gonna be an amazing owner. Because one thing that I have learned is that a lot of superstars don't make good coaches, don't make good owners, don't make very good leaders in that sense. Michael Jordan is probably the best basketball player that I've ever seen play. I don't think he'd be very good as a coach. His expectations, he's expecting you to be absolutely perfect. So I can't see him making proper coaching decisions and having the patience when people mess up. Just because Tom Brady he was an amazing quarterback doesn't mean he's going to do a hell of beans as an owner, as a part owner of the Vegas Raiders. And if I was grading him, and if he had anything at all to do with what went on in the drafts, if he had any partaking in not drafting a quarterback at any point in time, then unfortunately, I'm going to grade him an F. Geno's still starting. Geno's still starting. It makes no sense. Now, did Geno play a little bit better last week? Yes, he did. And the reason why we say he played a little bit better is because he finally put actual points on the board. So that says he played a little bit better. Even the team looked a little bit better. But what was the end result? And when you hype up Raider Nation at the beginning of the season to look forward to some good things that should be taking place throughout the season, and then it doesn't happen, it's like taking all the air out of a balloon, man. And because we've been so bad for so long, it gets tiring. It gets very exhausting. When we sit down and watch our team play on a Sunday and we say that, yo, no word of a lie, man, we know some high school teams that could probably beat the Raiders right now. My friends, even the Dallas Cowboys are playing some amazing football lately. Would have thought so, eh? You would have kind of figured that, an excellent quarterback would have an eye for a decent quarterback, no? And what kills me the most is, like, I don't see what all the big hype was on Shedeur Sanders. I mean, sorry, not Shedeur. I don't see what all the big hype was on Geno Smith. Seattle. My youngest son, that's his favorite team. Seattle Seahawks. So he's always talking to me about Seattle. Always bragging about Seattle, the whole bit. Now, Seattle's a team I never really paid that much attention to unless they were playing my Raiders. So when Geno Smith was out there in Seattle, you would see little highlights, little clips, of something that he might have done, a good pass or whatever the case may be. And at that time, Seattle was winning some games. Was I ever sold on Geno Smith? Absolutely not. But when I heard that we were getting Geno Smith, it was an upgrade to any of the quarterbacks that we've had in a little while. So I was okay with it. Was I 100% sold on the idea? Absolutely not. I was just okay with the fact of the matter that we're having to upgrade at that position because we've been having so much problems at that particular position. But really and truly, with the way this guy's been playing, does that really look like an upgrade? With the way that the whole team is playing, does it look like the wisest decision to get rid of Antonio Pierce? Because at least under Antonio Pierce, even the only thing he was missing was the experience. But the teams were out there on the field trying their best for him. Started from the inside out with defensive tackle. The thing of the matter is, when Dallas went ahead and traded Parson, we thought that was going to be the demise of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, with the way they're playing as of late, they're starting to look like a genius. And the thing of the matter is, if you pay attention to the way they're playing, every single week they seem to be gaining a little bit more confidence. They're starting to buy a little bit more into their new head coach's system. And the proof is starting to fill out on the field. I mean, what happened with them against Philadelphia was a total shocker to anybody. Philadelphia went out in the first quarter and put 21 points on them and couldn't score one more point after that. You might be right about that. I don't know enough about like tackles and all that kind of stuff. I'm a fan of the sport, but I don't know position-wise and all that kind of stuff. Unless you're a big star, I don't know too much about that. So you might actually be right, because from what I heard, the individual that they got, Dallas got back in the trade with Parson to Green Bay. Apparently, he's supposed to be an amazing player. But because he plays those type of positions that you're talking about, I just got to take your word for it. All better than Geno as starters, eh? Yeah. Jameis Winston, I mean, the thing of the matter is he's too inconsistent. Tyrod Taylor, I don't know enough about him. Russell Wilson, unfortunately, I guess all of his better days are behind him, because if you're going to the New York Giants and the New York Giants are benching you, you got to seriously start to question your career, where you want to go with your career from here on in. But I don't know if I would have been much more happier with a Russell Wilson instead of Geno Smith. Honestly speaking, I would have just been happy if the Raiders had drafted a younger quarterback. When I see the young quarterback that's playing for the Minnesota Vikings, I think his name is J.J. McCarthy. When I see the Jordan Loves out there, when I see all of these young quarterbacks up there, and you're going to tell me that the Raiders couldn't get one of these guys in their organization? Seriously? That's management, man. Yeah, he did. Russell came out and threw 400 plus against Dallas. But then what did he do the game right after that? That's what I mean when I say like his better days are behind him, unfortunately. Yeah, I would take Lamar. But then again, you tell me which NFL team wouldn't take Lamar? Lamar Jackson as a quarterback on their squad. The only problem is he tends to not show up for the big games when you really, really need him. But at least he could get you to a big game. And right now, I'll settle for that. Right now, I don't care if I go to a big game and lose horribly. I just want to feel what it feels like to actually get to a big game. Man, I'll just be good with a playoff game. This logo means something to the NFL, people. Who wouldn't take Lamar? Absolutely. I mean, yeah. Like I said, the only thing that Lamar has a problem doing is actually winning the big games. But just having him on your team and knowing that you have that opportunity to get to a big game is good enough right now. On Raider Nation, we would definitely take that. And I have a funny feeling at some point in time, Baltimore is going to start to move on from Lamar Jackson. Just for that simple fact of the matter that, you know, like they're going to start to say that, unfortunately, he can't win the big ones. I have a funny feeling. And then we're going to see exactly how many teams are going to be interested in him. You think so? Listen, let me explain something to you. The Baltimore Ravens, especially on the offensive side of the ball, nobody should be stopping that team. Nobody. They got the running back, Henry, and you got Lamar Jackson in the backfield. Plus you got guys out there that can catch the ball. Yeah, that's, you know, I said the same thing too. Manning, but according to my sons, he's not ready. And they're saying that he's not going to be that guy. He's not that good from what I've heard. Again, because I don't follow college football. But both of my sons are pretty big into college football, especially my youngest one, and he told me, he goes, the young Manning there, he's not as good as everybody's hyping him up to be. I mean, a lot of it is because of his last name. I don't know how true that is. But for his name alone, I'd take him on my squad, though. And then maybe we'd start getting some calls. Yeah. Just what I said. Yeah, they might take a chance because of his name. And then because of his name, at least maybe the league might start to look at the Raiders a little bit differently. You understand what I mean? Because, I mean, how long have the Raiders been the black sheep of the league? I try to watch some Texas games, though, just to see how, like how good he is. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Texas won the last game. But I'm still not hearing that whole big buzz about Manning. I'm not hearing that big buzz about him at all. And the sad thing about it is I do have a funny feeling because, hey, the Raiders are, what, 2-10 now? So they should get a pretty decent draft pick. And now there's a possibility that they're going to draft a quarterback. But from what I've heard, there's no good quarterbacks coming out in this draft. We're damned if we do, and we're damned if we don't. No matter how we slice it, man, we could never, ever, ever get ahead. It seems like we continue pushing our boulder uphill. Yeah, Manning? They've been trashing him, but you tell me. Give me your honest opinion. Do you think he's a decent quarterback? Do you see potential in him? Who do I have winning the Super Bowl? It's a little bit too early to say, man. It really is. It's a little bit too early to say. There's there hasn't been a team that's really. I'll tell you one team that I've heard about though. They're saying that the Rams seem to be a very, very nice looking team, and they say going into the playoffs they're a very dangerous team. I have a couple of people predicting them to win the Super Bowl. So he's not ready. Okay. And if I'm not mistaken, this is his first year in college, right? So yeah, okay. But if you say he has potential, I'm going to take your word for it. I'm definitely going to take your word for it. Because like I told you before, when it comes to college football, I'm kind of ignorant to that. College basketball, I'm on that all day, every day. College football, there's way too many teams, man. And for me, I don't find that interesting when one team is blowing another team out like 50-2 and stuff like that. That's not entertaining football to me. That just tells me that those two teams shouldn't be on the field at the exact same time. One of those teams shouldn't even be in the division. That's all that tells me. So that's one of the reasons why I can't really enjoy college football to the fullest. Holidays are coming up. Bowl games are coming up. I'll definitely follow that. But in terms of everything else, nah, way too much. Way too many teams. Way too many blowouts. I don't find that exciting at all. Could be interesting playoffs. Yeah, the reason why I'm going to enjoy the playoffs this year, the reason why I'm enjoying the NFL this year is because they have a hell of a lot of young, quality quarterbacks out there. So now talent is spread out evenly. And I like that. I really do. Bears. I don't want to talk about the Bears, man, because the Bears got the coach that we really wanted. And look how he's come and revamped that whole entire organization in just one season. But we're going to see if they're just a regular season team. Because a lot of these teams look good during the regular season, and the first round of the playoffs, they look like crap. So give them the praises for the regular season, but let's just hold off a little bit and see exactly how they look. That being said, people, I want you guys to have yourself a blessed day. Share, like, and subscribe. Double the Innocence with your boy E-Dub is out. Deuces. Hold on. I'm going to come use your washroom, okay? Thanks. Come in.